right, good morning. Thanks for joining us on this cold Wednesday morning. And I know we're all busy trying to get life back to normal after the winter storm. I know we're real busy here at Decor because, you get all these flat roofs and you get a lot of snow and they create a lot of weight. And we've been in a drought. We haven't had a lot of rain. As the stuff starts melting, those leaks start showing up. Those cracks start showing up, and those roofs need maintenance and prevention. And we've got to get out there and help our clients and customers as they call. We also know that as pipes have frozen, they freeze solid, and the damage isn't seen until they thaw out, that all of a sudden you get a burst and a small crack starts leaking, and that pressure builds. We've got a full service restoration team, and we've got to go out there, and whether it's the water tank in your home or a line in the bathroom or sprinkler suppression systems in the office and water coming through the roof. People think construction companies, particularly those of us in the roofing and restoration business, that we slow down this time of year, but these winter storms wreak havoc. And we know that our offices and place of work and our homes are so much more than just shelter or a place to do business. They are actually our refuge. And that's our segue into the verse of the week. Our verse of this week is Psalms chapter 46, verse 1. And it reads, "God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble." And there's two words that stood out to me when I read this verse. The first one's refuge. And refuge is defined as a condition of being safe or sheltered from pursuit, danger, or trouble. The other word that stands out is ever-present. It tells us God is ever-present. Ever-present means always there. It never goes away. It's something that's always with you at all times. And we're reassured that not only is He our refuge, which is safety and shelter, He's ever present. He's always there in the midst of any trouble, any danger, any anxiety, any stress, nerve, whatever we're going through, He will always be there. So why is this verse so famous? This verse has comforted countless people in seasons of both pain and or fear. It's a short but a powerful reminder that God is both our protector and our constant source of strength. And we've all thought about those two words, constant source, during the winter storm. Because you want your heat running, you want your electricity on, you want your lights on. And when a winter storm hits, and unfortunately in places like Mississippi and Tennessee have been devastating by not snow but ice. And when you see those lights flicker during a winter storm, it's a reminder that power has always been there. It's always been a constant source, but even man-made power at times can leave us. And we're so used to just flipping a switch and having light or turning on an appliance. And sometimes a storm and a power outage can remind us that with God, we always have that constant source of strength and power. Because His power and strength and His love, they never flicker. They never go out in the strongest storms of life. So let's explain and dive into this verse a little bit. And it's the first verse of the 46th Psalm. So let's read the entire Psalm 46 to put it into context. Psalm 46 reads, "God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. Though its waters roar and foam, and the mountains quake with their surging. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her. She will not fall. God will help her at the break of day. Nations are in uproar, kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice, the earth melts. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come and see what the Lord has done, the desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. He says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress." Now, this psalm was written as a song and sung and presented to King David. And it was at a time following Israel had been surrounded by a couple armies. They were in danger of being invaded and attacked. There were a few natural disasters in the area. And we can kind of relate today. There's always political and conflict in the world, and we seem to be constantly surrounded by something going on that presents some level of fear or danger. And we see these natural disasters like this winter storm Fern that rips through the country. But here they are. David had rallied the country. He had fought back the invading armies. And the nation of Israel is coming out of a tough time, and they're singing this song. You see, Psalm 46 begins with a declaration before describing the chaos in nature and the conflict amongst the nations. The psalmist paints a picture of disasters and unrest, but he anchors it with the truth that God is present and dependable throughout. There was a man who was looking out his back window, and he's looking at his 5-year-old son who was playing in a sandbox. And the little boy was in this sandbox, and there was a big stone, a big rock that was in his sandbox. And the little boy was wanting the rock out of the sandbox. And he was shoving it, and he was trying to lift it with all his might, and he couldn't budge it. And as he pressed it and tried to roll it to the side and roll it out of the sandbox, his little feet would lose traction in the sand. And the dad sat there with a cup of coffee, and the little kid was just giving it all he got, just wearing himself out to the point he just gave up. And he sat on the edge of a sandbox, and he put his little head into his hands and started shaking them. And the father walked out there. And he said, "What are you doing, son?" And he said, "I can't get this stone out of my sandbox." And the father said, "Did you use every bit of strength available to you?" He said, "Yes, sir. I just can't do it. I've used every bit of strength that I have." And the father said, "No, you haven't, because you haven't asked me for your help." And sometimes we need that reminder in life. If we have a stone or an object and it's just wearing us down, and we're fighting it with our own strength, trying to overcome something or accomplish something, we have to remind ourselves, sometimes when you feel like you're at the end and you've used up all your human physical strength, we just need to ask the Father, our Father in heaven, for a little more help. You see, in the ancient world, a refuge was often a walled city or a stronghold that's set up on a hill that was elevated, and it provided safety in times of war. So whenever war would threaten or an invading army would be reported back from the borders, and the scouts and soldiers would come back and say, "There's an army approaching. It's invading." The people that lived in the outlying area, the farmers and shepherds and people that were raising the crops and stuff, they would all retreat to the refuge. They would get behind the walls of the city, and they would close those gates. And there the city would prepare, and the armies would prepare to defend itself against whatever was approaching. To say that God is our refuge is to say he is a safe place to run when life feels dangerous or chaotic. But there's so much more in this verse. The verse also calls God our strength. And it means that he's not just a place to hide, but he's also the one who empowers us to keep moving forward with courage. So not only does Psalms 46, God is our refuge and strength. He is our refuge. We run to him for safety. We run to him for shelter. But he's also our strength through the fight, through the battle, that we can always lean on him because it tells us he's an ever-present help in trouble. So what could this verse mean for you? How can you apply it in your life today? You see, sometimes life feels overwhelming. Or you get out on the roads after these storms and it feels a little dangerous. And you feel a little nervous behind the wheel of the car. And things happen. But we need to remember that you're not alone. We are never alone. We always have our ever-present Heavenly Father with us. God is always with us. So wherever you're at today, whether you're snowed in, snowbound, out of power, whatever it may be, we have to remind ourselves, I'm never alone. My Father's always there. Sometimes I just need to be reminded to ask him for a little bit of help. Because God offers both safety and strength for whatever you may face today. There was a guy who led a Bible study, and it was a couple business guys that liked to gather once a week, and they had met at a coffee shop, and they would have coffee before the day would get started. And there was this one member who ran a small company, and they called him Two Phone Joe. Now today, most people carry one cell phone. They use it for both business and personal, but back when cell phones first came out, I can remember it was very common. You would have a business phone and you would have a personal phone. And they were not to be intermingled because the company owned that business phone and there was proprietary data and information, your business emails and texts, and they wanted to keep them separate from your personal phone. Well, old Two Phone Joe, he would show up for the weekly Bible devotional, and he'd always have one phone cranked up in here in his ear trying to talk, and he'd have the other phone in his hand, and he would order his coffee while he was having a conversation on the phone. You ever been around somebody that's literally having two conversations at once? They're talking about one thing and trying to do another. It's really confusing, especially for the person on the other end of the phone call, because you don't know when they're talking to you or the other person. So he's trying to order coffee from the barista, and he's talking to somebody on the phone. Yeah, they did what? Hang on. And he would use his personal phone like to call one of his project managers. Hey, let me hit mute over here. Hey, I'm on the phone with this client, and they say we got this problem. Are you aware of it? Are you on it? Okay, yeah, get out there. Okay. Hey, I gotta go. And he'd go back to this other line, go, hey, yeah, we're aware of that. We're going to take care of that today. I got somebody coming. Hey, let me call you back. Somebody's going to be there. And he'd hang up and get another call. Yeah? What? Oh, okay. And he'd start ordering his coffee. It was just chaos. He'd say, hey, you need somebody out there to look at something? Yeah, let me get somebody out. What time are you available? 1 o'clock? Hey, hang on. He'd hit mute. He'd call somebody else. Hey, can you get out there at 1 o'clock today? We got a person. I need you to go look at this potential job. Can you do this? And okay. Well, yeah, get out there. I can take care of it. Get her done. Bye. You get on the other line. Hey, yeah, 1 o'clock's good. I have a guy there. Let me know if they don't show up. Okay. And he would approach the table where the men were already having their devotional. And everybody kind of shake their head and look at old Two Phone Joe. And even during the devotional, the guy would notice his phone was always under the table. He was always texting. Or if a message came in, he couldn't even wait till the devotional was over. He'd just have to read it right there. He was so engulfed and overwhelmed and stressed out with work. He couldn't even take a few minutes once a week to connect with God. And one day he's sitting there and he's got a coffee, he's got a Coke, and he's got a Red Bull. You got to stay energized. He's sucking them all three, and he's got two phones going. And he would occasionally even get up and step away from the table and take a call and miss a lot. Well, one day he gets up, and he walks over, and he's yelling and talking loud, and everybody in the coffee shop can hear him. It's quite the distraction. And as he's walking back to the devotional table, the guy gets out of his chair and says, "Joe, come here and have a seat. Sit down. Let me see your phones." And he has to pull them out of his hands, put them face down. He goes, "Trust me, you're going to survive within this 1 minute. Put the phones down, put them face down. We just want to pray for you." And he puts his hands on Joe, and he prays 46:1. And he prays that Joe would seek God as his refuge and his strength, and always be reminded that God is ever present. No matter what trouble he's in or how much workload he has, God is his help in any time of trouble. And when they finished praying over Joe, Joe was all misty-eyed. And he looked at the man and he said, "No one's ever prayed for me before. And no one's ever reminded me that I don't have to do it all on my own. I've always been a bit of a micromanager. I've always tried to take care of every problem, roll my sleeves up, do it myself. You want to do it right, I got to get it done. But you're right. I need to just breathe a little. I need to be still and know that he is God." And his testimony and his openness was raw and powerful to all the men in that group. You see, we have to be reminded, each and every one of us has been there at some point in our life. We just can't let go. We have to control it all, even if it means 2 phones and 3 sources of caffeine and just constant chaos. And we have to stop. We have to remember God's our refuge. He's our strength, and he's ever present. And if we as followers of Christ, if we are to be the light of the world, if we are to let God himself shine through us, we have to show and reflect that refuge and that strength, and that there's always an ever-present help available to us. And sometimes we have to be that to someone else in the world. We have to show somebody else that we rely on God as our refuge and strength, and he's available for you too. And we can do that simply by praying for somebody. We all probably know somebody like Two Phone Joe. We probably know somebody today in our lives that's always a little stressed out, always a little high strung. The world's overwhelming, just too much going on. And that's an opportunity. We need to see those people through the eyes of Jesus, that sometimes they just need a hand on the shoulder. Sometimes they just need a prayer, and they just need to be reminded to breathe, to be still, to know that he is God. And we can share that with somebody. Everybody's got someone in mind. We all know that one person that's more nervous than a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. They just can't relax. They're just waiting for something else to get them. And they're constantly stressed out. We have to remind them that God never gives us more than we can handle. In our human emotions, we will feel overwhelmed at times, but we can't handle one more thing on our to-do list. We got something else to worry about, one more phone call to address. But we have to be like that little boy in that sandbox who's trying to push that stone. We have to remind ourselves, I can always call on my Father. I can call on God's strength. When I've exhausted myself and I can't go any further, that's when you let go. And that's when you let God fill in the blanks. It's always been said, do your best, God will do the rest. And we need that reminder each and every day. So today, whatever stone you may be facing that's in your sandbox, call on the Father. Let him help you move that stone. And today, speak out loud. Claim it. Profess it. Psalms 46:1. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Have a blessed week. We will see you next Wednesday, which will actually be in the month of February. So be safe out there. Stay warm. Share this verse with someone today. God bless.